Hi, BrenTech here, where tech is made simple. So, last week, just a couple of days ago, I let you know that Microsoft had explained why modernizing Windows 11 takes so long. Where Microsoft's CVP of Design and Research on Windows, Marcus Ashe, has sat down with Windows Central to talk all things UI on Windows 11 and about Windows 11. I'll leave the video linked if you'd like some information just to see Microsoft's side and take on why they say the operating system is taking so long to get modernized across all its different surfaces. Now, just to let you know that there could be another angle and another reason why modernizing Windows 11 is taking so long. And this is according to Microsoft engineer Raymond Chen, who wrote about this back in 2003. Which basically I think would describe half of what's wrong with Windows 11 today, because Windows 11, as we have been talking about, has unfinished user interface menus and windows that are not consistent across the whole Windows platform and the operating system. Because today we still see legacy UI in Windows 11, because it does seem that Microsoft never got around to finishing the actual UI even earlier than 2003. Now, back then in 2003, Microsoft gave you a way to keep the old interface while you adjusted to the new one, and introduced a new interface without immediately forcing every user and every company to adapt overnight. And then once the new replacement had proved itself, the old implementation could go. And basically today, that's very similar to what we call a controlled feature rollout, CFR, which Microsoft uses in a lot of its updates to the operating system, as you may well know if you've viewed this channel for quite some time. Now, according to Chen, if we head over to this article, which he posted in October of 2003, here's why a lot of the legacy code could have been left by Microsoft in the modern iteration of Windows being Windows 11. Because if we head to this paragraph, he says, talking about, by the way, what is Alt and Tab order in this post, but this is the important bit. He says, this does highlight the effort we take to try to allow people who don't like the new way of doing something to go back to the old way. It turns out that corporations with 10,000 employees don't like it when the user interface changes, because it forces them to spend millions of dollars retraining all their employees. That's according to this post by Raymond Chen. Now, this is interesting because if you are a tech enthusiast, maybe you're in the insider program or you test features in Windows or are looking out for new features, you adjust fairly quickly to user interface changes in the operating system. But for companies where employees do their jobs, obviously changing an interface has a huge cost, which means that corporations and enterprises would have to spend more money, to train employees to obviously get around those changes. And a possible reason why Microsoft didn't replace the old code, so to speak, with new code, even now up in Windows 11, is they needed the enterprise business. That's the long and the short of it. But things have changed since 2003. Now we have, as mentioned, we have old code and user interface in Windows 11, not as a courtesy while people adjust, but it seems that Microsoft hasn't finished building whatever it was supposed to replace back in the day. And obviously, pulling the trigger, so to speak, too early risks breaking something crucial for an enterprise that uses Windows PCs. And I did touch on that in that previous video. As mentioned, it'll be linked. But interesting stuff. It's good to see different angles on this, so to speak, and different people's opinion. That's just one by Microsoft engineer Raymond Chen, who we have spoken about previously on the channel. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is another reason why Microsoft explains why modernizing Windows is taking so long? Let me know your thoughts. I'd be interested to hear. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.